like, what are some of the tips, you're helping people out, advice you're giving as far as like transitioning from either making no money, making some money, to being able to sustain life and live the life you want by doing what you love and making money from that? Like, what do you got for the people out there?
Yeah. Well, I think what you're asking is like tips specifically on that transition
Sure.
from hobbyist creator to entrepreneur creator. And a big tip that I provide is just the framework around marketing. So that's a
Mhm.
place to kind of start with thinking of yourself as a business is identify who your audience is. So it's wild to me how many artists and creatives don't know who they're trying to reach.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know anybody who likes it. And when you can get specific on like, this is the demographic, that's huge because then you can start creating content and packaging your offering in a way that appeals specifically to them. So that's the next phase. It's like, okay, I know my audience. Now, what are their challenges? What are their needs? What are their pain points? And what do I have to offer? What do I love doing? How can I package something that's going to serve them specifically? So it's
Mhm.
like honing the offering is kind
Right.
of the next level. Are you a music producer and you want to work with this genre of independent artists? Like, cool, let's focus on like that part of your business. Or are you an independent artist that specializes in you really like touring and like playing live and playing these kinds of shows and venues to these kinds of people. Let's go in on that. So identifying your target audience, identifying your specific offering.
Mhm.
There's a lot more within that one because that's where you can get really creative about what you do have for sale because a lot of musicians don't know what they're selling.
Sure.
So what they're trying to do is promote their Spotify page or promote their social media. And then they're like, but how does that make money? And it's like, well, that's not your offering. Like your offering isn't just your song on social media. I mean, maybe it is, but that's a path that's more for catalog artists who are getting millions of streams on every song.
Right.
So what is it that you actually want to sell? Does your audience want to buy merch? Does your audience want to pay tickets to see you live? Is there some other creative thing that you can provide with your music? I had an artist that I was working with that came up for part of their merch line, candles that were specific to their songs that they were promoting. So they had three singles and these three different flavors of candles. It was such a great idea.
Yeah.
So honing what your offering is because those singles, streaming those singles was not going to make them money. And you're not going to sell a physical copy of a single probably. So
Right.
like, what can you do? Which is unfortunate. That's a whole other level of a conversation of, people are like, why isn't music like the thing that we really undervalue music now because of streaming? But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but those are some huge components of how to start thinking of yourself as a business, know who you're selling to and know what you're selling and how that actually makes you money.
Yeah, yes. Like we don't think about that, and especially creatives too. And like when just to clarify, when you say creatives,
Yeah,
that can mean a lot of different things. Doesn't mean just music. So are you working with a cross section of creatives, or is it specific to music and you're just using that word?
Yeah. No, thank you for clarifying. So I'm trying to speak mindfully of I work with creatives across the board. So
Okay.
people beyond just the music world,
Sure.
crafters, vendors, like physical artists, writers, designers. But and then when I'm speaking about musicians, I'm trying to say like independent artists or like musicians, but everybody across the board. What's interesting about that is like I have a little bit more to offer for the musicians and the independent artists because I have this music industry knowledge and background and degree.
Sure.
So my coaching with them looks a little bit different than the general creatives, which is more, I'm not an expert in your field, but I can help you identify what you need to do and how to make it happen. Sure. Whereas when I'm talking to independent artists, I'm like, this is how a distributor works. And like, this is what a publishing company is. And I can speak a little bit more into those things.